Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
I am in disbelief.
And I do not have a murder burner.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss the season 4 finale of the Amazon Prime Video show, The Boys. The episode is titled Season 4 Finale. Now, the reason why it's titled Season 4 Finale, because originally it was titled Assassination Run, but with what happened a couple weeks ago in Pennsylvania with that shooting, they decided to change it. I'm sure that in the future they'll change it back to Assassination Run, but for now it's referred to as season 4 finale. So anyway, enough about the title. Let's talk about the episode because there's a lot to discuss about this finale. Frank, I want to get your overall thoughts on the season 4 finale of The Boys.
Well, they went for shock value for sure. I thought it was 65% shock value, 35% lacking consistent storyline of like building what they're trying to build for the duration of this season. I have a lot of questions, and my questions are germane more to like the cutting of certain characters and how they went about it. I don't know, man. I called Justin that night. I had to get a second opinion because I was just kind of like, what's going on? It just felt disjointed. I felt like everything they built from the last few seasons to get to this point just felt really disjointed, and like I don't know how to feel about it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I wasn't too happy with the finale.
Brittany, what about you? What did you think about the finale?
I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with anything that Frank is saying. Yes, there are like plot holes. Yes, we lost some major character or a major character in this finale, and the shock value absolutely was there. I've been talking about how I was waiting for that sort of shock value that is The Boys, and I kind of got it in the previous episode, one of the previous episodes, the Tech Night episode. But this was like on a whole other level, and of course, timing of real life events that occurred just before the episode premiered. Wow, like that's crazy to me. This is like, oh my god, this is like The Simpsons. Simpsons has had a track record of making quote unquote predictions of things that would happen in real life. Beside the point. Yes, there's inconsistencies. Yes, there's problems with the storyline because having lost that really that one major character, it's kind of like, whoa, where are we going from here? But at the same time, it's kind of like that storyline kind of has dragged out for me a little, and it's like they needed to, put a button in it and put a pin in it and call it a day kind of thing. So like I can go either way, truthfully. However, I was like hand over my mouth the last 10 minutes of this episode, and I was just in disbelief. And then not to mention the mid-credit. Like the mid-credit, did not see that coming. Shout out to Justin for letting us know ahead of time, taking more for the team and watching it early morning, day of its premiere, to let us know that there was a mid-credit, because I literally screamed when I saw that mid-credit. So yeah.
Yeah, I was very entertained by the finale, like I always am with The Boys, but I agree with Frank. There was a lot of shock value, and we've been dancing around the character that died for a while. Let's get right to it. I was very surprised by Victoria Newman being killed. I thought that actress Claudia Doumit, she's a big part of that show since end of season 1 to early season 2, and the fact that she was killed off and all things that happened to her in this episode. She goes from being she's outed as a soup on live TV by Homelander. And then Homelander threatens her like, hey, you got to go with my plan or I'm going to, tear apart your little daughter and send you a piece of her, one piece of her every year or whatever he said. And then the fact that Butcher uses his soup powers, which are like, I don't know, kind of like Venom, it's like Venom takes over. Kessler's like the Venom that takes over his body. And then he has these tentacles and he ripped her in half, like literally in half. Her blood goes everywhere. I was stunned by that decision to kill off the character. Frank, what did you think about the loss of Victoria Newman?
I wasn't a fan of it, to be honest, because like I feel like there was a lot of story to be told there going to next season. Like the Boys, getting another hero or another soup, leaving, the bad guys going to the boys and using that as leverage. And I feel like there could have been a great storyline between Newman and her daughter going to next, and like, now you have Newman has a newfound purpose now of protecting her daughter and like going against Homelander. It was just so much good storytelling there, and it's such a pivotal character. She's a great actress. She's a fan favorite of mine. I mean, for the position that she was in, I just feel like they eradicated a storyline that could have gone to the last season. That could have been a showdown, with Homelander and the rest of, because like now it's like from where it's left off at, all the soups now, like outside of Annie and the female, they're all on Homelander's side. So having that extra firepower with Newman, at least on the boys' side, would have it would have helped. It would have served for a better storyline.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also like with Newman, her power to like, pop heads, I was kind of interested to see like, could she do that to Homelander? And now I guess we'll never know. Brittany, what'd you think about Newman's kind of shocking death?
I mean, that was the reason I had my hand over my mouth, just in those last 10 minutes of the episode. I absolutely did not see that coming. What I was anticipating, of course, was like a double cross. Yes, she called out to Huey to basically say, I give up. I will go along with anything and everything that you guys want me to do. I will walk away quietly. Just help me save my daughter. And, it's one of those things where it's like, I want to believe that she's being sincere, because she does above anything and everything else, as much as she wanted to be in power, as much as she wanted to perhaps be president, still keep her identity secret. She loves her daughter like unconditionally, right? She, in her crazy mind, wanted to protect her daughter by making her into a soup, right? And with that being said, she, having been told by Homelander that if Victoria were to step out of line, even just an inch, he was going to come after her daughter, tear her apart, break her bit by bit, and send Victoria a piece of her daughter, every year. And you believe Homelander because he is very well capable of doing something like that. But then I also wonder, like, how truly impenetrable is Homelander as well as Victoria, because when he outed her on screen, he lasered her, but like how much of his laser power was he using? Because it did nothing to her, or did she like instinctively just block it with her own powers? You see what I'm saying? So like there's, I truly wanted to see just how powerful each soup is. And if they went toe to toe, like that would have been great. But then I also wonder, leading up to her death, was she going to double cross Huey and the boys? Or do y'all think that perhaps maybe she was very sincere in everything that she was telling Huey?
No, I think she was sincere, because we see that with Homelander's threat to her, she realized like, there's no way getting out of this. And that's what she tells Huey. She calls him and kind of, offers a truce and is like, look, I'll help y'all if you help me, and, get me and Zoe out of this. And so I do think that she was sincere, that she was, trying to save her life, but most importantly, save her daughter's life.
Yeah, I agree with Justin. I mean, she looked shook. Like even when she got the phone to Homelander, you see the living room. It looked like she was packed up and like ready to skip town. Like she was at her wit's end. That's what I took from that scene, like of the widescreen of the living room. I think the minute that Homelander threatened Zoe, that was her like, I can't do this anymore. I can't have my daughter in life in the balance now. Going to lengths of like making her daughter a soup, that showed me that she's willing to do anything and everything to protect her daughter. And I think for her, she knows she can't defeat Homelander by herself. That's why she pleaded to Huey and the boys. So no, I don't think she was willing to betray them. I think she was trying to do everything she could for Zoe.
But then I can't help but wonder how truly effective she would have been as being protected, or as being part of the boys, if you will, because the fact that she had already been outed by Homelander as a soup to national television. Bob Singer, who is the president-elect openly said that, she lied to him, blah, blah, blah. He wanted her to be apprehended, I guess you could say. And it's like, how well was she going to be protected based on the finale ending, right? With all the boys, with the exception of Butcher being scooped up by Vought or by Soups. Like, truly, how well could she have been protected, or if she escaped? Yes, she's got the head popping, power, but like, you can't head pop your way with everyone without getting bested at some point.
Well, I think, what was it, season 3, when like all the boys were like claimed as fugitives of the law, like they they were able to get around and do their just duty. I feel like they would have found a way if Butcher had agreed, and with Frenchie's help. And the boys are very average at their jobs at best, but they know how to stay under surveillance. I think they would have found a way to keep Vicky under surveillance for the most part. Mm-hmm. Largely because they were fugitives in their own right, and they were set up to do what they needed to do in season 3.
True, but it seemed like there was a wider range of people to look out for the boys compared to it was just being Vought. Now you're talking about all the Soups are reporting to Homelander, because he's like basically de facto president at this point, right? The Speaker of the House has now become president of the United States, because Bob Singer was, framed, if you will, by Sage with the audio and video of him underground saying, if y'all had just, killed her when I told you to, we wouldn't be in this mess, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, Victoria is dead. So yeah, by line of succession, Calhoun is president of the United States, but pledges his allegiance to Homelander, who is going to basically rule over all the Soups. And shout out to Johnny here in our live chat, who makes an excellent point, and something I do want to touch on. Stan Edgar could have potentially protected Victoria. Also, where the hell did he go? Like, what happened with him after the flying farm animals from hell?
He's back in prison.
Did he though? Because Victoria
she helped
stopped him.
Yeah.
Oh,
remember,
yeah.
she stopped the convoy. Well, not even a convoy. It was just him. Popped the chauffeur's head and like opened the back door. They looked at each other, and that was it.
Yeah.
The only mention in the episode after was Homelander saying, "Oh, I heard that Stan Edgar got out of prison, and no one knows where he is." And Victoria's like, "Don't know what you're talking about, bro." Like, but like, where is he? Like, why wasn't he given a bigger role? You don't bring someone back like Giancarlo Esposito and not give him something more to do. What the hell?
Cover a major role to play in the last season, I guess. Then I know one thing. He's gonna have an axe to grind against Butcher. He just killed his daughter.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I guess that would serve as possible motivation to have a bigger role in the final season. I don't know. I think it's weird that we got him back and then he's gone. I mean, we'll talk more about it. It's just I'm like, why even bring him back if you're not going to really utilize him?
I mean, that actor is very busy. He's in a lot of things. He's gonna be in Captain America: Brave New World, as we saw in the trailer a few weeks ago that dropped, and he's in everything. He's in a ton of Netflix stuff. He's in Star Wars stuff. So
he's got his own show called Parish.
Yeah.
Parish Run or
yeah.
Parish, yeah.
Yeah, he's a busy guy, so they probably could only get him for a limited amount of time, but he will definitely factor into season 5. I definitely believe that. Let's talk about what led to Butcher ripping Newman apart, because it didn't come out of nowhere. And actually, another surprising death actually kind of led to this. We see in the episode that Butcher, obviously he's in bad shape. He's in the hospital. He gets Ryan to come visit him, and Mallory is there. Obviously, she's like in charge of the CIA, or she's high up in the pecking order, and basically she's trying to get Ryan to stay, and in theory she wants, and Butcher wants the same thing. They want Ryan to join their team to stop Homelander. That he's the only Ryan's the only person who could stop Homelander, which the kid doesn't like, the fact that he's going to be used as a weapon to kill his dad. He refuses to stay with them. you know, Mallory pleads with him. He pushes her aside. He has super strength. She goes headfirst into a brick wall, snaps her neck, it appears, and she died. Also, pretty shocking death. Frank, what'd you think about Mallory in this episode and then her dying and then that leading Butcher to embrace Kessler and break bad?
The biggest problem I had with that scene was her dying didn't bother me. It was how it was done. Mm-hmm. Mallory is she has, I'm assuming, 40 plus years of government ops experience, right? Like if you go back to season 3, you see the flashbacks of her dealing with fake ass Captain America. I can't remember his damn name. And
Soldier
Boy and his team. Like she's been working in government ops for 40 plus years. She loses her shit trying to plead to Ryan about what's going on, which bothered me because somebody with that level of experience who's been around for that long doesn't lose their shit when it comes to like trying to persuade somebody to fight on their side. She and the way that they set that up, they made it seem like she had no experience. She just went on a frantic pace. This person's lost her grandkids. I'm sure she's been in hundreds of missions and protected hundreds of people and thousands of people probably in her career. And how they did it, how they made her like just kind of like panic and like just spill the beans that way, I thought was very. It wasn't like Mallory. That's not what, from what we've seen from Mallory in the 5 seasons that we watched the show. She's composed. She's calculated. You know what I'm saying? She's very pristine at her job as a government official. And for her to like lose her shit that way and like panic to Ryan, knowing damn well this is a 13-year-old boy. Like you can't like lean all of that, put all that on a child who's going through puberty, who's a fucking soup. It's not going to bode well. So for the writing purposes, I thought that was kind of weird of how they wrote that scene out for Mallory and Ryan. I thought it was bad writing, and I don't know why they put that there. It just seemed like it was more of a shock value than the actual storyline.
So I want to ask the question of, she makes mention of how when she lost her grandchildren to the lamplighter, that there was like a hole left in her. And I understand, right? Like you lose children, grandchildren, or children alike. Like that's just devastating. That changes a person. And she kind of, I think she was saying basically that with Ryan, when he was in her care, she kind of felt like she got something back. Like she got back the grandchild that she lost or something. And I wonder, because the fact that despite all the years training, missions, people she's protected, because she looked at Ryan through that kind of lens, it was a little bit more personal to her. I wonder if maybe that's what kind of blurred her way of thinking and not necessarily being so rational, despite her career as being in the CIA.
Yeah, no, I think that's part of it, but I think also there is, I'm sure from the writer's perspective, and I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but just my guess is their answer would be to Frank's criticism, and I agree with him. It's out of character. Their criticism would probably be, well, Butcher is kind of our in with Ryan, and Butcher's about to die, so we are running out of time. This assassination thing is in the works. We know the Soups are trying to take over the government, so we're really under the gun. And we've got this kid here. We've got to make the hard sell to keep him. And that's probably the rationale. Now, again, there's certain kind of people that work in these spots that they're in those spots because they don't maybe, fold under pressure. But I think that's what they did with that character. But Frank's right. Her character was not that way throughout, all 4 seasons. Now, granted, she's not a character we see a ton of, but when we do see her, she's pretty by the book. And the only emotion she really shows is, like you said, Brittany, about the loss of her grandchildren and her kind of this test for Butcher. So just playing devil's advocate, I'm sure they'd say, well, they were under the gun because of the circumstances and the fact that Butcher's about to die.
And that's a valid argument. I mean, I can accept it either way. I can definitely accept that, writing was maybe just rushed or just, not really being consistent with the Grace Mallory that we've come to know and appreciate. But I just kind of also look at it from, it's more of a personal matter now, even though Ryan is not biologically hers, right? You tend to kind of not think clear when you're so heavily emotionally invested in someone who's also part of the mission.
And I think also I did read that Eric Kripke said something about how the goal for this season was to basically create like for the end of this season to create a whole new world for the characters in this world. And so they even said like Gen V will be our first look at this new world. And my interpretation of him saying that is like, okay, the boys are working with the CIA, they're working with the government. Well, now they're not. And Mallory would have been a tie to the government. So they've got to get rid of that character, just like they get rid of the president is arrested. The VP, who's a soup, who's now on their side, they kill her. So they're basically clearing the deck to where the boys have no one on their side except for a few soups who are maybe out there, and Butcher's just trying to kill everybody. That's what I think is their kind of their mission for this season.
It just seems super rushed to me. This is giving me season 7.
I agree.
It's giving me season 7 of Game of Thrones. Well, season 8 Game of Thrones vibes of like how they kind of just like nipping everything in the bud so quickly just to get season 8. I mean, yeah, season 8. I don't know. I don't feel good about moving forward about this story wrapping up. It just seems like a lot going on, and they're just trying to like chop off heads to get to the end. And I don't know. I'm not. I don't know, man. It's just you kill off pretty 2 pivotal characters and like in a very, it just seemed rushed in a very hasteful way. I don't know.
Yeah, the comparison to season 8 Game of Thrones hurts my feelings.
Well, I've got another comparison. A show we talked about last year was the final season of Succession. And that, or maybe it was the beginning of this year. I can't remember. I think it was last year. That show, I mean, you're not supposed to like any of those characters, right? But, you do kind of establish a rooting interest. And then the finale was kind of unsatisfying. I mean, it was a great show, well written. The story was done well, but the way it ended was kind of like real life. And I wonder with the boys, is it going to be more like real life? Like maybe Homelander doesn't die. Maybe the boys don't win. Maybe it's just a big mess. Like, I think that's kind of on the table for season 5. I think like Frank, I don't see where it's really going to go. It's just kind of like Gen V season 2 will help us figure out what will happen in season 5. And I think they're kind of taking it season by season, and, maybe they don't have an overarching plan, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but you're right. It seemed kind of rushed. This seemed like a fast season anyway. I mean, they're all 8 episodes, but this one to me especially seemed like a quick year. So
the Succession parallels. That's a great example. When you watch the last season's Succession, it just seems like how are they going to end this shit in 4 more episodes, 3 more episodes. Like it just there was so much storyline and so many like different like avenues that just wasn't like didn't have closure. To where, like, personally for me, I don't like series finales that end in like interpretation. Like, I don't like shows like that. Just pay the writers, write me an end, and then let the audience decide whether or not it's good or not. Yeah. Like things like that, and like this, I have a feeling that The Boys is going to end on like a cliffhanger, and it's going to be one of those things where for years people going to talk about, well, did this happen? Did Homelander die? Did Butcher die? It's going to be one of those things where. And they created this avenue because they steered so far away from the comic books that they have to rely on their own writing now to like come to an end. Now, whether or not it's a sufficient end, we're gonna find out. But yeah, this is way off the comic books, and like I don't. For the first time in the 5 years of this show, I have doubts. I never did before.
Oh my! Oh gosh. Well, I mean, because we're talking a little bit here and now about the series finale. Johnny here in the live chat shares Butcher's tentacles will pull apart Homelander at the end of season 5. So that's a great theory. That's a great prediction. I told Justin after the finale aired that my prediction was that somehow the virus is going to make its way into Firecracker's breast milk. Homelander is going to drink it, and that's how he dies. It's not by cilantro. It's by the virus.
That was a funny moment in the episode. Go ahead, Frank.
There's gonna be a porno that's gonna base off that firecracker scene. I don't know when it's gonna come out. Pornhub, one of these companies gonna play off of that. I just know it is. I can't believe how weird that shit is. That's so weird to me.
Frank is gonna spearhead that and co-write it and star in it and
well, we might as well just go ahead and talk about that, because that's kind of the lighter part of the episode, is the firecracker breast milk thing, where, you know, she's taking these drugs that helps her produce breast milk, and it's making her very sick. And I do like how Homelander, like, even though she's doing it for him, he doesn't want to be around her. She's coughing in the meeting, and he's like, you know, scoot. He has her move down one chair, and it's like he has her move down another chair. I mean, the looks he gives her, it's so funny. Just the interplay between those characters, and, you know, she's so willing to do whatever for him, and he doesn't care. And I mean, it seems like this stuff is like killing her, or at the very least making her very sick, and he doesn't care.
So I guess my question is, when did she start taking this enhancement to produce breast milk? Was it prior to joining the 7? While she was in the 7? Like, when did she start doing it? And like, how did she know that she was gonna be, I guess, around Homelander to do that for him?
I tend to want to lean on the theory, and I think someone here left a comment on one of our past pods about this theory. So I'll give credit where credit's due. I apologize, I don't know your handle and your name, but this is not my original theory. Is that probably when Firecracker became part of the 7, because Sage became part of the 7 at the same time. Sage probably knew that information about Homelander, because she could like look at him and like read him real quick, right? So she probably shared that information with Firecracker, tipped off in that sort of fashion. And maybe that's when she started like started taking the medication to produce breast milk, to kind of maybe try to keep Homelander at bay, because he was really starting to lose it. And how quickly he's reverting back to the Homelander that more or less we saw in season 1, when he was involved with Madeline Stillwell and you know, being a child to her mommy. So it's crazy, but I think that's probably when Firecracker started taking the medication. But yeah, it's making her pretty violently ill. I mean, a running fever, heart palpitations, and someone who suffers from heart palpitations, that is not fun. Okay. That is not fun. Okay. I don't wish that on anyone. So like, yeah. Also, why keep doing that to yourself? The guy doesn't want anything from you other than your titty milk, but like, okay. Like, I mean, what is her power? Like, truly, we have not seen anything from her. We've seen like, you know, a little like she kind of clicked her fingers and a little bit of sparkle, but she's like, my power is truth or something. It's like, who says shit like that? Like, come on.
No, she's an influencer. She's a broadcaster, and she can make firecracker flames out of her hands or whatever. I mean, that's pretty much the extent of her power.
I feel like she's a fake. Like, when you want to talk about fake news, I feel like she's a fake. I don't think she's really a soup, period.
And speaking of fake, let's talk about the fake Annie facing off with the real Annie, and just all the crazy stuff that happens with those characters. It starts out with the fake Annie shapeshifter gets down on one knee and proposes to Huey. Then he proposes to her. So they're going to get married. Of course, this is the fake shapeshifter. And then later on, Annie makes the save. Frank, what'd you think about Annie versus Annie and Erin Moriarty playing both characters?
Man, that was one of my favorite scenes of the show. I love the fighting scenes between them. It looked like Erin had an actual twin going. Like the cinematography was pretty cool. I don't know, maybe because I'm a guy. I had a problem with her being mad at Huey, like for fucking her 20 times in 10 days. Like the clone had the shapeshifter has your memories. Like, what do you expect him to do? Like, he had freckle that resembles your freckle on your own person. Like I thought she gave Hugh a little bit too much shit regarding that. I get it, it's your boyfriend and you're emotional, all of that, but come on, man. Like he figured it out. Like that's, and yeah, it took him 10 days, but at least he did figure it out, you know, right to the end. So but no, I love the shapeshifter scene. That was a very unique version of a shapeshifter, or how they're able to doppelgang and all of that. But I mean, I do love how they came about in that scene and with that character.
So with the shapeshifter, I mentioned this in the previous pod about that sort of adaptation of a shapeshifter was something that I've seen in Supernatural, which is also an Eric Kripke creation. So with shapeshifters, all they really need to do is either like touch person or somehow like, I don't know if it's like take a bite out of them, that kind of situation. Somehow, in some way, they have to come in contact with the person they're going to, you know, shift into, right? And they are able to acquire their memories and like their habits and things like that. But because the shapeshifter is a creature that does nefarious things, sometimes that gets in the way. And that's why those little habits that Huey may have, you know, should have picked up on earlier. I say may, and I'll talk about this later because I also have an issue with the Annie Huey storyline. That's why there's like those slip ups, because the shapeshifter also is in control to some degree. Yes, they have to pretend to be somebody else, but they're also in control. So real quick, I just want to give a shout out here in the chat to Amber of All of Amber's Wands. Thank you so much for being here. Love you so much. Also, shout out to King B Johnson, who has always joined us in our chats. We appreciate you being here. And once again to Johnny, who's in our live chat as well. We appreciate y'all being here. So with the Annie OG and shapeshifter Annie, that was incredible. I was really, like I said, annoyed with this Annie Huey storyline, and I was just like, oh my god, this is just, I didn't even think that at the beginning of the season they were actually together, because at the end of the last season it didn't seem like they were together. So it's like, okay, did they get back together off screen? Because like I wasn't really making the full connection, and I just felt like something was going on with Annie, like more so than, obviously, yes, she's depressed, she's suffering from lots of things and being outed on national TV about having an abortion and what have you. I understand that. I felt like there was something lacking still. So when we saw Shifter Annie and just be up in your face and like telling you like it is, and seeing that just other level, I was like, I'm impressed. I'm impressed by Erin Moriarty and the range that we're being given here. I mean, I love the flip of it. It's almost like when we saw the Deep kind of channel like a darker side of him. I was like, oh, like I'm actually like intrigued by these characters more so. Like I didn't really care about them before, but now I kind of care about them. So go figure. But with Annie being mad at Huey for not recognizing the habits and things like that, I can see both sides. And this is because I'm female. Okay. I would also be equally upset if my partner, who I've personally been with for 15 years, you know, caught my doppelganger, and it's like, oh yeah, this is you, right down to that mole of yours, you know, or freckle or whatever the case may be. But there were still things that were off. And then like Huey admits that, hey, you want to know when I knew it wasn't you? But it's like, but that was all kind of late, bro. Like you didn't notice it from the get-go. Like Annie, who had such a strong reaction to seeing and learning that Huey kept her suit, like she wouldn't have willingly gone to put it on to have sexy time. Like, no, she really wouldn't have. Like that was the tell for me. But this is long before knowing that the shifter was in play. So I don't know. I mean, I see it both ways. Like you can't really fault Huey for not fully recognizing it off the bat, but then at the same time, it's like there's a little bit of part of me that kind of agrees with her, just a little bit.
I think the reason why it's believable is because, as you said, they're together, but they don't feel like they're together, you know? So I think what happens with the doppelganger is she kind of, you know, she kind of reignites the relationship, even though she's not in the relationship. And I think that's why Huey kind of gets, um, fooled so easily because I think he wants to be fooled because it seems like they're so apart, even though they're together. If that makes sense, like like you said, they don't seem very close this whole season. I can't really remember last season how they were, but like the whole year they're almost like they seem like maybe roommates or they're just both like coworkers in the boys. So um I think that's part of it. It's like I think Huey kind of wanted things to get back to maybe how they were and the the doppelganger did that. So but yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's one of those things where it's like it's definitely like a TV show kind of thing because in the real world, like I don't think that would be as big of a deal because you're like, hey, we're all about to die, maybe because there's like soups that can kill us and they're in charge of the government now, and like this other like petty stuff we can worry about later on if we survive. But like in the moment, let's focus on trying to stay alive.
And to add an element to that too, Huey lost his father, like in a tragic way.
Yeah.
So he's distraught too. So as a man, I'm not a woman, so I can't speak to what you're talking about, Brittany. I mean, I'll just have to like take heed to what you're saying, but
I'll allow it.
But as a man, when you're going through loss, you don't know how to verbalize it a lot, and a lot of times intimacy and being close to your loved ones or loved one helps all that. And like when he lost his dad, at least on screen, Annie didn't console him. The closest thing that she said was, "Well, I think you should set out on this mission because I don't think you're good right now." That's it. Like we're supposed to be a couple, and like that's what you say. Like so with the doppelganger doing what she did, that was probably he was saying, "Oh shit, this is what I need. I need comfort. I need my girlfriend to be there for me." And the sex, the intimacy, all of that, some of the conversations they had in bed and all that. That's what I think he needed, and he didn't know he needed it. So I think Annie was a little bit too hard on him, man. Because I mean, they both experienced loss this season, but they were so disjointed that, like Justin said, any type of spark, I feel like Huey was ready to grab onto that.
So I think Annie had told Huey to sit out from the mission. I think that was after his father died. Just because he wasn't. Yeah. So I mean, I get that. I totally 100% get that. However, and maybe this is just from my own personal experience and probably sharing too much, but I personally feel that like when being intimate in that nature, when you're struggling like that, it doesn't come off like in a positive way. It's like being used to a degree. I'm not sure if this is making much sense, but it makes sense in my head just because of, again, personal experience. But I didn't like it because, for one, it was triggering for me. But then at the same time, I kind of looked at it as with the shapeshifter being someone who's instigating like sexual assault, right? Like because she's using and manipulating Huey to a degree where, yes, that's what he wants. And I think there's kind of like the stereotype that that's all men want. They want that kind of level of intimacy and they're not going to ask any questions. It's like, hey, if it's being offered, I'm going to take it. Right. I'm not going to ask those questions until things start kind of getting a little shifty. Right. So I don't know. I absolutely just did not like any of this Annie Huey storyline, like period. Looking in the chat right here real quick, Amber says, yeah, it feels like they were just checking in with each other instead of turning to each other for support. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. They did seem very disjointed because they're going through personal stuff. I'm sure because of the big reveal of the abortion, that weighs heavily on both partners, right? That's, yes, the female is the one who goes through the whole procedure, but like, I'm sure for a man, like there's feelings and a lot of times men don't really know how to convey their feelings. They don't know how to speak openly about it. Right. So they bottle things up just like women do. So yeah, it was definitely a struggle for these two, but I did not like how it was portrayed in the season.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Moving on to, let's talk about another character that had a tough season. She's had a tough run the whole series. Ashley, in this episode at one point, Homelander tells her, he's like, "Hey, give me a list of all the people in the company that might have damaging information about me and the Seven, mostly me, but also about the Seven." So Ashley compiles this list. Well, and then Homelander then directs all of the members of the Seven, of the remaining members, to kill everyone on this list. And the Deep makes the point of like, "Hey, does anybody know Ashley's last name?" Like it's funny that they don't even know her last name, and she's like, she's the CEO. And so fast forward, we've got, the Deep and Black Noir 2 out there killing people. The Deep kills one of the writers, and it's kind of a funny thing where the writer's like, "Hey, I'll do anything, I'll pay you," and the Deep's like, "You don't get paid shit." So he bashes the guy's head in. Then Black Noir kills Ashley's assistant, who's also named Ashley, and Black Noir kills her, and it's like, oh, he's like, "She wasn't even on the list," and he's like, Black Noir's like, he's like, "How can I know? Like, everyone here is named Ashley." So they're looking for Ashley. Ashley freaks out, goes to Homelander's apartment, which has been trashed by Homelander earlier in the episode. She finds her way to either Compound V or Temp V. I'm not really sure which one. And she injects herself, and we see, her wig comes off, stuff starts like bulging out of her head. And Frank, my question for you, I mean, obviously, I want your thoughts on this whole scenario, but what do you think will be Ashley's superpower now that she has powers?
Well, from what it appears like with just V in general, the baseline is superhuman strength. From what I've seen so far in the series, her brain wasn't enlarged, so it looked like she gave her like this leader from the Marvel Cinematic Universe type look. Maybe she becomes a super smart version of Sage, if not smarter, maybe with superhuman powers. It's kind of hard to tell, man, because like once her brain expanded, it cut away. But I would say superhuman powers and like super intellect. That's my guess.
Okay. Brittany, what do you think? What kind of powers will Ashley have in season 5?
That girl's gonna grow some hair.
Yeah.
That hair is gonna have a mind of its own. It is gonna go full on tentacles, like how Butcher, has his little tentacle things coming out of his chest. It is going to be her hair. Why? Because this poor girl has been pulling out her hair since season 1, has had to wear wigs to cover it up because she's so stressed. That's also her own damn fault because she was given an out by A-Train to leave, right? But she decided to stay. She formulated a plan, which I shout out to Ashley for having the girl boss balls to do such a thing. But I'm thinking that her power is going to have something to do with her hair. Yes, her brain and head like enlarge. I think I'm getting like Tim Burton version of the Queen of Hearts. The Helena Bonham Carter had a really enormous head and then like a really small chin. I'm thinking that, but she's going to have something to do with her hair. I think we're going to get her hair to regrow, and it's going to have a mind of its own. You heard it here first.
That would be interesting. That would be, I think, unique. I mean, I assume there's probably some other superheroes that have magical powered hair, maybe, or I don't know. I feel like there's somebody that does out there.
I don't know. I don't know if I feel like I've seen that something with X-Men or with like Mortal Kombat or something like that. I don't know. I feel like there was something with hair and like the tentacle type things that are Medusa. She something along Medusa lines. That would be cool. Like that would be amazing to me.
Well, and there is a Medusa in the Marvel world too, in the Inhumans.
Yeah.
Okay. So
okay. Well, there you go. That would be very appropriate.
Maybe that's her correlation to the actual superhero world. Anyway, that'll be cool to see what happens with Ashley. Now, she appears to be an ally of the boys, or she certainly is a foe of the Soups because she had to inject herself. So it'll be interesting to see how she plays into season 5 and how far she makes it.
Sheer act of desperation, like to want to stay alive. You're going to put yourself through God knows what with either Compound V or Temp V and risk it all. Like I kudos to Ashley for that. Johnny here in the chat says, I want to see ice powers in season 5.
Okay.
Yep. Maybe they'll bring a Lamplighter's real life twin and actually maybe have ice powers like what's his name did in X-Men, Iceman.
Iceman, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, Brittany, that that Ashley could have been saved by A-Train. He offered her a lifeline and she denied it. We didn't get A-Train in this episode. We didn't see him. However, one of the funnier moments of the episode, one of the first moments of the episode also, is we find out that now that A-Train has left the Seven, they're deciding to cancel training A-Train. And very similar to what happened with the Batgirl movie by Warner Brothers Discovery. And they have Ashley saying that, we just realized we make more money from the write-off, which, again, very funny joke, but also that reminds me of like, there's no way that Batgirl movie was that bad. Michael Keaton was going to play Batman. Like they shot the whole damn movie. The guys that did the last two Bad Boys movies directed that movie. So I don't see how that movie is going to be bad. But anyway, I thought it was funny to like bring that back. And then also you had the director, Adam Bork, who is like the Zack Snyder of this universe. And he had the hashtag release the Bork cut again. So I love the parallels to our world or the mentions that are similar to that.
Not to mention, as Johnny says here, Will Ferrell wanted that Oscar nomination for training A-Train. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, definitely. From the silly stuff to like the more serious stuff, let's talk about Kimiko and Frenchie. Frank, they actually kind of shared a nice moment before another bad moment. What'd you think about Kimiko and Frenchie kind of reconnecting in this episode?
That's the only part of the show I actually liked was their development. And Kimiko's reasoning I thought was beautiful. Because she struggled with like her morality, right? Like since joining the boys, we get a peek of her childhood upbringing, being abducted by Shining Light, forcing to do all those heinous things that she did, killing all those people. She struggled with her morality. She wasn't sure if she was a good person, and her reason of telling Frenchie why I didn't take to that kiss from I think season 4 last season was because I didn't think I was good enough for you, and I thought the other guy would be good enough for you. I thought that was great. That was great writing. I wish I had that same energy towards the other facets of this episode, but to see that and then the come back in the mid-credit scene, I was fine with it. I was fine with it because as long as it ends with them being together, it's going to be hell and high water with those two. But I thought the payoff, at least momentarily, was worth it. Seeing those two kiss.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty. It's pretty poetic. I mean, you finally admit to yourself and to your closest friend that you truly have feelings, stronger feelings than just that of friendship for him, and confronting those feelings is scary, right? Frenchie had tried that a while back and got rejected by Kimiko, and he left it alone, went on his merry way with Colin and others, and Kimiko was like, yeah, cool, like you do you, but then secretly she's like, no, I didn't like that, like I want you to be with me and what have you. So it's very poetic. It's you admit the thing and you have your moment, and then it gets ripped from you by people doing nefarious work. And I'll tell you, I was very surprised to see Kate show up and put her hand on Frenchie and whisper something to him. I saw on Twitter, couldn't believe it, on Twitter's saying what she said to Frenchie is, "You're gay again," and that's why he like willingly turned around, turned away from Kimiko, and just like followed Kate to wherever. And I'm like, no, like why would you do that? Like, stop it. That it was really funny though. But that moment of Kimiko to finally overcome her mutism, right, because of all the trauma that she's experienced, to finally confront the fact that she was being traumatized more by watching the man that she loves be torn away from her, and the screaming of no, like, I mean, that shattered me.
Yeah, I mean, Karen Fukuhara is so great, and I want to highlight a couple of her kind of funny moments in the episode because, again, until she screamed no at the end, we have not heard her make a sound this whole series. But I do like she's so expressive with her face and using sign language. But there's a part earlier in the episode when the boys return from after the Annie versus Annie fight, and they're all kind of battered, and they see Frenchie, and like she's like happy and she waves, and everybody else is like, we've been through some shit, and then I like when after she, her and Frenchie share that kiss, she's trying to tell Annie about it, and Kimiko uses her phone and she uses like two emojis. She uses a French flag and like a kissy face to like basically tell, hey, I kiss Frenchie or whatever. I thought that was funny. And just I think she's such a great character. Like it's um and then once again, this episode, she has her healing power. She gets her head like completely turned around by the shapeshifter, and she bounces back.
So I have a question because we've seen Kimiko die, quote unquote, in some pretty horrific ways. Like the head, being spun around. She basically had like something. Her torso was like blown apart, or she was detached to a degree. But it's like, is she virtually indestructible? Like, or is the surefire way of killing her is maybe decapitating her?
Frank, do you have a thoughts on that?
I don't even think decapitation, because like the times that she was ripped from her torso, she just grew legs again. She just grew like she regrew, body parts after being cut off.
Right.
So I don't know if it's a decapitation. The only two ways I saw in this series of her possibly dying was the virus that Frenchie saved her from, and then when Soldier Boy depowered her when they first released Soldier Boy, and she was badly wounded and almost died. Those are the only two times I remember her being close to death, like actual death, not coming back.
Well, I just say decapitation because like the healing, I would imagine, much like how Sage has explained her way of dying, is that you can't kill her by shooting her in the brain or stabbing her in the brain. Her brain will heal, but you stab her in the heart, she's going to die. Like she's openly said that. So I wonder if that's kind of the opposite for Kimiko, because if you sever the head from the body, then the body is not going to know how to heal because the brain is detached from everything else that's within that body. You see what I'm saying? So like, I just wonder if that's going to be the only way to kill her, because she, I think, is virtually indestructible.
Yeah, I don't think Kimiko's getting killed in this show. It's Deadpool and Wolverine week here for everybody, not just for us, but she has the healing factor that both Deadpool and Wolverine have. So yeah, Kimiko, one of her predictions, she'll make it through the season 5.
For sure. And Johnny here in the chat says he can't wait to hear Kimiko in season 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Us too. Us too.
So from Kimiko, let's talk about Sage, who makes a brief appearance toward the end of the episode. She was cast aside in the previous episode by Homelander, but she's now returned, and she says that everything went according to her plan. Frank, what did you think about this? About her plan that seemingly would be impossible to actually plan out, even for the smartest person in the world?
That was bullshit. That was totally made up. First off, we don't like to predict that Vicky was going to get killed.
That's
like nobody saw that coming. Nobody. For her to act like that was all part of a plan, I think she really just said that to like.
I agree.
To Homelander, to like, because Homelander already like is already insecure of Sage and her intelligence. I think she just said that to like make Homelander even more insecure. Like, look, motherfucker, I'm always 3 steps ahead of you. No matter what you say or do, or how you try to outsmart me, I'm always going to be ahead of you. That's what I got out of that. There's no fucking way she predicted Vicky getting killed.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The one thing about Sage is I think she's very smart, and I think she's so smart she knows what she doesn't know, and she knows that Homelander doesn't know a ton of stuff either. And so, like you said, Frank, I think she was able to just like repackage it, resell it. Like, oh yeah, that's part of the plan. It's like when I was a kid, I used to play horse with some of my friends, and we'd we come up with these elaborate ways to take a shot. And it's like, oh, throw the ball off the tree and then hit off the backboard. It's got to hit this part of the rim and go in. If you don't do that, you get a letter. And it's like, and everyone would say, oh, part of the plan, part of the plan. You said that over and over and over. And it got to be like this ridiculous thing where it's like, just make the fucking shot. Like if you make the shot, we keep playing the game. And I think Sage is doing the same thing where she's just like, oh, it's all part of the plan. It's all part of my plan. And what did you think about that? Oh, good, Frank.
Yeah, one quick thing. I think for that too, it was her last desperate ditch attempt to get back into the 7. Because when we first see Sage, she's living in this dirty ass apartment. She really has she had just got kicked out of another team group or whatever. Right before we see her character, she has nothing going on, and the 7 was like the only thing that gave her purpose. It gave her excitement. And when Homelander fired her, I feel like she was probably in a deep depression, not being part of something. And I think that was her desperate attempt to get back into the 7.
Brittany, what do you think? What do you think? And then Sage ended it with buckle up for phase 2. What do you think phase 2 of her plan is?
She's gonna make it up as she goes along. I don't know. Yeah. Truly, at this point, I'm not sure. Hell, maybe she's a 3-eyed raven and we're not aware of it. Like, she's Bran the Broken, y'all. Like, why do you think I'm here? Is kind of what I heard out of all of this. And I'm like, oh God Almighty. It's like someone out there is gonna be like, who has a better story to tell than Sister Sage? And it's like literally everyone. Yeah. Oh God. If y'all haven't noticed by now, I have severe PTSD of Game of Thrones season 8. We don't talk about that anymore. The idea that she's like, yeah, this was all part of the plan. I couldn't tell you everything because you don't need to be a part of it or you were going to fuck it up. Like, yeah, Vicky was kind of a hard sell and blah, 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 blah. And, but flipping it to where it's like, I literally knew everything that was going to happen before it happened. It's like, well, then you're one clairvoyant motherfucker. Like, just, that's a hard sell for me personally. I mean, yes, you might be the smartest person in the world, but like the smartest person also has to recognize that you're going to fuck up at some point. And that's either going to be by your own hand or by the hand of someone else.
Well, and also a big part of that plan was the fact that, well, I knew that Newman was going to die. Who was going to kill her besides Butcher, who I don't think anybody knew Butcher had these powers besides, Kessler, this inner demon he has. So we don't know who can stop her. We assume Homelander could kill her, but like you said, he laser eyes her on TV and it's like he just like kind of flicked her or something. It didn't seem like she was that affected besides the fact that he outed her. Like that's what pissed her off. It wasn't the fact that he shot laser eyes at her. So it's like, who can kill her?
I think Amber here in the chat has said it very well. Smartest person can predict and guess, but not change free will.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
really good point.
And on top of that, like for what we said about Homelander, him being insecure and not the sharpest tool in the shed, he had a pretty solid plan of the doppelganger killing Singer. Like it was pretty solid. Like it had like a 99 percentile success rate. Like, yeah. Like it wasn't for Huey figuring it out and her sweating, they would have completed that plan. Like you counting on that plan going awry. That was pretty legit. That was a legit ass plan.
Yeah.
Or was part of her quote unquote plan, the little bit that Homelander wasn't privy to, was part of Sage's plan to also murk Victoria by using the shapeshifter. Not only just take out, Dakota Bob, maybe taking out Victoria too, because she, quote, had mentioned that Victoria was a hard sell. Right. Victoria wasn't as willingly receptive to what Sage had to say. It took a lot of coaxing, but if, quote, her plan all along was to put the Speaker of the House into power and then making Homelander de facto president, I mean, is that plausible? I think it's a reach, but I mean, I'm just trying to like see it from different angles here. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. it was very like, I mean, I think it's kind of meant to be like she's kind of full of shit. And like we see that, but Homelander, he doesn't really see that because he's so messed up, like I don't think everything's happened and he's just kind of in a daze because he can only focus on like one thing at a time anyway. So go ahead.
Can we talk about Homelander and the beginning of this episode with him and Ryan? Like, Jesus,
Yeah.
I was terrified for that child, like truly terrified. And this is something I wanted to talk on, Frank. I remember we were kind of talking about like actors that we who have portrayed these roles so well that we never want to see another actor take on the character, right? And Antony Starr is one of them, but it's one of these things where Antony has also like he's phenomenal as Homelander, but then like he's not so phenomenal like when he's just Antony, because I think either the method acting is in full on play that he himself has gotten in trouble with the law, like abroad. There are rumors that Antony is so much like Homelander off screen that he drove the actress who played Maeve not only off the show, but out of the industry altogether.
What? Do
Yeah.
tell.
That is the rumor. There have been stories that have circulated for a while saying that he is like very sexist, very like just very inappropriate around his female coworkers and things like that, and just making advances, but then also just like downright degrading these women and what have you. And this is like both, on-screen partners as well as those behind the scenes. So like whether Antony is really full on method acting or that's just perhaps his true personality, it doesn't make it very desirable, but I'm not taking away his talent as being an amazing actor, because he is fucking ferocious in that scene with Ryan. Like I was like cowering and I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom. Like I'm scared for my life at this point. But yeah, those are some of the stories I've seen circulating around social media and online.
There was a video I saw on Instagram, and I took it as a joke, like
with him and Jack Quaid.
Yes, like when he like get the fucking camera in my face, he said something to the effect of like it sounded serious, but I thought he was joking. But now that you say that, like maybe he wasn't joking. Maybe Jack Quaid just took it in stride. Like,
yeah, there's that video. I think they're like riding around in a van or something doing press. And Jack's like, oh, the gang's out here. And look at me, Antony Starr. Isn't it funny that, your last name's Starr and you're a star? Like, you can see Jack's like purposefully being annoying or whatever. And Auntie's like, yeah. It's like, well, what's your favorite thing about, being on the show? Oh, I don't have to do scenes with you. And it's just like, well, okay. Damn.
He didn't laugh. He turned right back around. Like he just ignored him. Like he looked really annoyed.
Yeah.
He
didn't play it like it was a joke. Yeah.
No, not one bit. It was kind of strange. I mean, and I know we've talked off screen a little bit about the dynamic with TJ Miller and Ryan Reynolds for the Deadpool movies. And I don't know, that all kind of just seemed to be very similar to that with like Antony and maybe his co-stars. So I don't know.
Yeah, you never can tell what people are really like, off air, off the screen. But it's you bring up a good point about Homelander, the way he is toward Ryan in the episode, because Ryan runs away from him because he sees how his dad has destroyed his apartment and how he's like freaking out. But then whenever Mallory tells Ryan, hey, your dad's killed all these people and he's the one that killed all the people on the plane a couple years ago, and the kid, like, he's like incredulous. He doesn't want to believe him, but it's like you ran away from your dad because you were afraid of him. So the information they're giving you, like, it seems very believable. Why? Like, that was also something. The Ryan character to me is kind of annoying. I was kind of hoping the Ryan character would maybe die in the season finale or something, because I feel like it's just like the character is like, I know it's a kid, but the character flip flops so often that I don't really care about the character. The character is like, oh, I love my mom, but I love my dad. My dad's terrible. My dad raped my mom, but I still love my dad, and I still want to live at the tower because it's cool. But I'm gonna run away from him every chance I get to. Like it's very like I kind of wish he wasn't a bigger part of the show because I kind of feel like in the end, I feel like what's going to happen in season 5. This is my prediction: is that Homelander and Butcher end up facing off. Homelander gets the best of Butcher. Ryan sees it, and then he kills Homelander. I mean, that's my prediction for if the boys kind of win, right? But I don't know. I'm not a fan of the character. Frank, what do you think about Ryan and just, kind of the way he kind of flips back and forth?
No, it's definitely annoying for sure. That's without being said. I think what they're trying to portray and convey with the character is that he was so titty fed by his mom for so long. He was so socially suppressed by his mom. Like he lived in a house off the grid,
Right.
protected by vault. He was pretty much in a lab that was in a house type of setup. And I think, what is he, 13 now? I'm not sure how many years has passed since his mom died. But I think what they're trying to show you is that Ryan is still socially like dysfunctional because he hasn't been implemented in society, and lived the life of a young boy. And then on top of that, he goes from one extreme to another. So he goes from his mother, who's been titty feeding him for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, to now to this Hitler like dictator Homelander. It's two crazy extremes of like parental care, right? And I think with that being said, it's a little bit of Stockholm syndrome as well. That Homelander is all he knows as far as a parent. Like the one person that, and like say what you want to say about Homelander, he never denied his son. Butcher denied him. Like from the minute that his wife died, he denied him. He's like, I can't stand you, I hate you. And like I think Butcher has been trying to make that up. And when you tell that to a child, no matter how old that child is, that sticks with you. And I think part of Butcher denying that young kid going to Homelander, and Homelander kind of like trying to create this atmosphere of fatherhood, even though as toxic as it is, as crazy as it is, it's now his normalcy. And I think those two extremes between Butcher, his mom, and Homelander, he hasn't had a chance to like live a normal life. And I think that's what the directors and the writers are trying to show you with Ryan.
That makes sense.
If you want to see more about children being denied by their parents, see Aegon and Alicent of House of the Dragon. My God. It's kind of funny how these shows are paralleling each other to a degree. The problem I also have with Ryan, aside from the flip-floppiness, and this is to be totally expected of a young adolescent, prepubescent child, is the fact that he tries so hard to please his father, who openly said in a different episode that, hey, I don't want you to like do things for me. Like, I want you to do things for yourself. Like, I want you to find out who you are as a person and not have the same upbringing as myself. Well, that all goes to shit when Homelander tells Ryan, hey, do whatever it is that the producers and directors want you to do for this stupid holiday puppeteer show. Do me a solid. Don't complain about it. Bye. So Homelander reneged on what he had first told Ryan, right? Strike one. Strike two was being like openly like pissed at Ryan for finding that portrait or that photo of Butcher, Becca, and the dog like in his backpack.
Yep. And
just being like, Ryan, come here, like with the mouth, like that was really, really crazy. And Ryan runs away and he goes to Butcher and, oh my God, you're dying. And he sees Grace. Oh, Aunt Grace, like, I love you, whatever, have a great moment. And the truth bomb is dropped and he can't handle it, kills Grace, walks to her, acknowledges that she's dead, looks back at Butcher, and then walks away.
Yeah.
Like, say what you want about Homelander. Like, Homelander enjoys violence, right? He definitely is like a sadist, right? He gets off on it. Ryan is so concerning because he showed no remorse whatsoever for what he did to Grace. And like before, kind of even with old buddy who was the stunt coordinator for Ryan's first save, like he, Ryan pushed him, splattered him up against the wall, and Ryan was like, I did a bad thing. Bro, you fucking killed somebody. Like, you didn't do a bad thing. You fucking murdered somebody.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the maturity or the understanding, I guess, of what it is that he's done. The trauma is real with him. It's so concerning.
Yeah. I think that, like, not that I know better than the writers, but just I think if he were killed instead of Newman, you'd get the same effect on Butcher, because Butcher, he said in the last episode, like Ryan is like his one reason for not wanting to kill every soup, right? That's the only thing that keeps him from fully embracing Kessler, is the fact that Ryan is a good kid and Ryan is Becca's kid, and he has faith in the kid. If you killed the kid, right, somehow, whether it's Homelander by mistake or whatever, then you'd get the same effect of Butcher just like saying, fuck it, I'm just going to embrace Kessler. The tentacles are coming out. Everyone's going to die. Right. To me, that would have worked better. And then you keep Newman on the show and you keep that talented actress involved. And there's so many things that you could still do with that character. Now, I think that character was going to die eventually because she's kind of an irredeemable character. And there's a lot of those in The Boys. Like, I don't think the Deep is going to turn face. Like, I think he's a bad guy who's going to die in a brutal way. But like, I just think that would have worked better than killing her. Killing her is more shocking to me, but I think killing the kid might have really made it like Butcher versus Homelander showdown is coming in season 5. I mean, we know we're going to get that anyway, but that would have made it connect better for me. So,
yeah, and this is uncharted territory, because in the comic books, Ryan died as a baby. Like the minute he was born, he killed Becca when he was brought into this world, and then Butcher killed him because his powers were out of control. So he didn't even make it past day one of being born. So this is all uncharted territory for this character moving forward for the show canon.
Yeah.
Interesting, because that was, well, similar in a way to what we learned about Homelander, how he killed his mother coming out of the womb. Like he tore her in half with his laser vision. So damn. The more you know. Ding, ding, ding.
There you go. Let's talk about the final scene, because I thought the final scene was very strong. You have Nirvana's heart-shaped boxes playing, and you have Homelander giving this speech, and it's right after the new president. Like I said, Calhoun has become the president. He has enacted martial law, and he is deputizing Homelander's army of soups to quote unquote defeat the deep state Starlighters, and they're going to be arresting them and they're detaining them and who knows, probably killing them. And Homelander gives this speech and he says, America will be safe again. And to the Starlighters, wherever you're hiding, we're coming for you. We're coming for you. Or no, we're coming for you. I'm coming for you, because today a new age of superheroes begins. I thought that was a very powerful speech. Then we get Firecracker. She's doing a TV monologue, and basically she says, all these things, but she ends it with, "We will make America super again." And we see Zoe, who I thought maybe Zoe died during the battle with Butcher, with Butcher, but apparently she was just knocked out. She's being sent to the Red River group home where Victoria was also kind of raised. And like Brittany
I have a question.
Before, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Why couldn't Zoe go to her father, Dr. whatever his name was, Samir? He escaped Frenchie.
But
he's alive.
But
I don't think they know that he's alive, though.
Yeah.
Victoria knew that he was alive because when she spoke to
Right.
Huey on the phone, she said, "Oh, like what you did to Samir by cutting off his fucking leg."
Correct.
So he made contact with her
Right.
at the very
Yes.
least, but
Maybe Stan Edgar has him or something. Who knows?
one of other many holes that are in this story. Continue.
No, I was just gonna say, like, then you see the boys go their separate ways, and they're trying to get away. We see MM goes to the airport. We see Frenchie and Kimiko are together. Huey and Starlight are together, and then we see Soups along with uh, Soups and they're like troopers or whatever are with them, and they're starting to apprehend them. As you mentioned before, Brittany, we see Sam and Kate from Gen V. Kate uses her mind control on Frenchie while Sam holds Kimiko back. Then we see Kimiko scream for MM. His nemesis Love Sausage reappears in the bathroom, and they take down MM in the restroom on the floor of the bathroom. For someone who has
Wow.
OCD.
Interesting choice of words, Justin.
Well, no, I
Love
mean,
sausage, and they take him down in the bathroom.
well, they did, and you think about MM, he has OCD. He's a very much a clean freak, and
No, he's a germaphobe
germaphobe,
and OCD.
right?
Yeah.
And then the worst place for him to probably be is face down in a
Face
men's
down,
rest.
ass up. Anyway,
Okay,
sorry.
Be-
I'm having
to
way
be
too
on
much
the
fun.
floor in the restroom at at an airport. That's probably not a great place for him, and that's not a great place for anybody. And then we see Huey is taken captive by Cindy. Cindy from season 2 is back. She has the shaved head. And then Annie, who has just regained her powers, Annie flies away. Frank, what'd you make of this kind of wild scene where all the boys are they go their separate ways and then they get rounded up by the Soups?
First I gotta say this. I called it. I called like the characters from Gen V showing up in the finale and it flowing into Gen V last week, just so you know. I thought it was great. It's a signature, it's a symbolism of the end times is near. Armageddon is coming, and what better way to like show that the cards are stacked against you than to have pretty much every super in the world healed to the Mad Titan, not Thanos, but Homelander in this world. I thought it was great. It looks pretty much inevitable, and like how do they win?
Right
now you have 2 shows now, and Gen V and the boys that end with like the protagonists being caught and being subdued. It's what's so sad is that it seemed like Annie and Huey and Kimiko and Frenchie found closure. It seemed that even Mother's Milk found closure. It looked like he was getting ready to go back to go get with his girl and his daughter. To have all of that ripped away from them going to the final season, it's going to create a lot of tension. I just hope that they nail it as far as like how they end the series. But I thought it was great having that mid-credit scene. It's going to show a lot of desperation going to the last season, and not only that, but I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk about it. But another person showcases himself in a certain state in the finale as well. So, I mean, I was a fan of all of it.
Brittany, what'd you think about the final scene, the closing act with Nirvana playing in the background?
That was cool. I mean, you got to give it to the boys. The music's always on point, right? MM wearing his shirts, and all that. That's always well thought out. I do have a problem though with this ending.
Okay.
The boys are all captured, albeit Annie gets away, and I'm guessing the only reason is she now able to channel the sun's energy or something to be able to have that much power and like blast off, because she just manipulates electrical whatever or other, right? Like I'm trying to understand like how she was able to soup up like that and like pew, take off. Why wasn't Butcher captured? Wouldn't
Well,
he be public enemy number one for Homelander?
he wasn't with the group. That's the only thing I can explain.
Well, the group wasn't all together. So, like, they all went their separate ways and they were all caught separately. So, I'm trying to make it make sense. Huey
I
and
don't
Andy were
know.
driving in one direction.
You got me
Nico
there.
and Frenchie were
Yeah.
going somewhere else.
Yeah.
MM was going somewhere else. Butcher's on his merry way with quote Kessler in tow.
Yeah. He's got the virus also from that Frenchie was able to
Right.
produce.
So, like, why wasn't he captured?
I don't know.
Or maybe that continues into episode 1 of next season of like them trying to track Butcher. Maybe he's like the last person they're trying to capture. Maybe.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, that was the one weird kind of like, well, how's it that everyone else got busted, but he didn't? By the way, I absolutely love the fact that the physical transformation of Butcher when he finally accepted Kessler and became all healthy all of a sudden, and he just reverted back to the same old Butcher that we know and love.
Yeah.
Like, by the way, you're fucking welcome. That was amazing. But yeah, I was like, well, how's it that everyone got busted, but not him? But anyway, maybe it will continue into the first episode of season 5.
Yeah, like I said, on the inside of the episode, Eric Kripke said that basically the end of this season has created a new world for all the characters, and that new world we'll see the new world in season 2 of Gen V. Now, with Gen V, where it left off, we know that Emma and Jordan and Marie Moreau and Andre are in the Vought facility. Unfortunately, Andre, the actor that plays Andre, he tragically died in a motorcycle accident a few months back. So they're gonna write his character off somehow. But there still are 3 characters, from Gen V who are not fans of Vought. So I assume they'll help team up with A-Train and Annie, maybe Queen Maeve, who's still out there, who's powerless but who's still out there, and they'll try to team up to stop Vought, while I'm sure Butcher will go it alone. Butcher and Kessler and his venom tentacles will try to take down anyone and everyone. So
I do have a question too about Butcher. So the Kessler side of his brain or his persona, who's now manifesting and has taken over, hates all soups. Like does not like soups at all.
Yep.
Why did he try to kill everybody in the room that was a soup when he killed Vicky?
good question.
Vicky was enemy number 1. I don't know. The other thing too, I have questions. Is it that Butcher took more V somehow, or he just turned himself over to the V powered tumor that is in him? I'm very confused as to how he was able to channel all that.
I think it's the latter. I think he just
latter.
basically because Ryan killed Mallory, and Ryan's he's a lost cause, then he just gave up. He let Kessler and the tumor take over.
But he was like sweating and weakened in his deathbed. How all of a sudden the hate drives him to like look like he's a brand new man? Like, I don't understand. So
it's like the opposite. It's like the opposite of Deadpool.
But he still has that tumor that's life-threatening, right?
I would assume so. Yeah.
Whether or not it's life-threatening at this point, who knows? If he's given less than 6 months, I mean, he's going to use whatever time he's been given to do what he's got to do. I think Kessler has said like, I'm the only thing like keeping you alive or keeping you going or something along those lines. I truly don't know. And sorry, Frank.
Real quick,
before
the prognosis that he got before the 6 months, that was prior to him taking V. So does the prognosis change now that he has taken V?
So Amber in the chat says maybe the V manifested as a parasite and that's what he is. So once you sort of quote give in, that the parasite will keep the body up and running because the parasite needs a host.
Yeah.
So that's
pretty
one
solid
theory.
reasoning. Yeah.
But let's get the theory from none other then Tristan Jones, who's joining us in today's chat.
Hey.
Hey.
Sorry, late. I had some Comcast issues over here. No, I think that's a good theory. I think, like I said, that whatever he had prior to taking the V just accelerated it and like turned into its own monster, I guess. So if he had a tumor, like I guess the thing that's controlling him is the tumor, because it's just the tumor is in effect on V. That's my theory, at least. But yeah, love the finale. I had one quibble. I don't know if y'all talked about it, but I did think that Victoria Newman's death, while easily foreshadowed, I didn't feel like it was paid off. Maybe because of just the lack of, not a full 10 episode season, sorry. But it felt a little rushed. I don't know why. Like I knew you could tell she was gonna die, but like I was supposed to feel more than I felt, and I just didn't. I guess because it happened so fast. I don't know, but that was my one quibble with the finale. Otherwise, I thought it was a great finale.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it was kind of a shocking death. The way that, I mean, I don't know. I felt she was going to make it to the 5th season. I mean, I'm not surprised she died in the sense of this is an irredeemable character. She was going to die at some point, but it seemed like the timing of it was kind of not the best.
Can we talk about the mid-credit?
Let's talk about the mid-credit. Brittany, take it away.
Soldier Boy's back! I'm so excited. I'm so fucking excited because rumors were circulating that Jensen Ackles had been back on the set for The Boys, and I'm like, oh my god. So the big reveal was Calhoun, who is president, brings in Homelander to say, hey, I just learned this information this morning. You're the first person I called. You need to know about this. And Homelander, I think, is genuinely surprised that Soldier Boy is still around, albeit, incapacitated. But yes, I'm not one bit excited at all about this revelation. But yes, we are going to have Soldier Boy come back in season 5. I'm so excited. There's talk that maybe Jared Padalecki from Supernatural, who was also, in it with Jensen Ackles, and maybe he'll have some sort of cameo in the show. I don't know. It'd be cool. I mean, it's Eric Kripke's show. He, did a great job with both. And yeah, totally excited. Can't wait. So excited.
Tristan, what did you think about how Homelander looked at Soldier Boy? Because as we learned last season, Soldier Boy is Homelander's father, but Soldier Boy was going to kill Homelander or try to kill him at the end of season 3 if Butcher didn't stop him. Homelander seemed to kind of look at his dad kind of longingly, at least from my perspective. What did you think about that?
I can see that. Surely a lot of conflicting feelings,
Yeah.
However he processes those feelings. Yeah, longingly, I think that's a good way to describe it. Like Homelander has been learning the complexities of fatherhood, as we say. And I guess in his own like souped up mind, like maybe seeing Soldier Boy kind of like crystallizes those feelings of, okay, maybe I understand. Like like how fucked up a job it is, you know what I'm saying, or how complex and nuanced it is to be a father. Like, not to say like Soldier Boy is any type of father. He's a dad. I mean, he's not a father to Homelander, but yeah, like Homelander is going through all types of emotions, rage, normal psychopath shit, feelings of like betrayal, all these things. Like, so everything is bound to set him off. So seeing his long, estranged, souped up father is absolutely gonna bring those feelings out. So interested in see like, what their relationship, like how does Soldier Boy like become non-incapacitated?
Yeah.
What is his role? But like, if we're just kind of counting down and looking at what this, last season is going to look like and where it's logically headed, then we know like Soldier Boy and Homeland are going to have, at least one more face off. So can't wait for that.
Frank, what do you think about Soldier Boy? What kind of role do you think he'll play in season 5? And he was in season 1 of Gen V. Technically, it was kind of a flashback dream kind of scenario. Do you think we'll see him in Gen V season 2?
I think so. I think he wakes up halfway through Gen V season 2. That's my prediction. Unlike Homelander, I feel like Soldier Boy did what he did because Bart told him to, as far as like why Homelander's here. He doesn't have that father instinct or any semblance of a father instinct or care, based on what he was trying to do to Ryan last season and how he feels about Homelander. I think his arrogance and his insecurities of like not being like America's favorite anymore, like he was in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. How Homelander is now the favorite. I think that's gonna manifest in some sort of fashion, as far as like him being jealous of Homelander and Orion and wanting to take them both out. So I think it's gonna pick up. I think his feelings towards Homelander is gonna pick up where it left off. Because I just don't see him wanting to share the spotlight with Homelander. I think what drove Soldier Boy was because he was the top dog and because he was like the #1 hero during his time. And even in the finale of season 3 of him going back and forth with like wanting to be a father, him wanting to have the spotlight prevailed of him wanting to be a father and a grandfather. And I think that will continue on in the finale of in the final season of next year or whenever it comes out.
That's a good theory. Brittany, what do you think about that?
I think it's spot on. I think that struggle is going to continue. I think it's going to really divide the Supes, even the Supes who idolized Soldier Boy because he came before Homelander, and Homelander is going to probably start losing some ground. I highly doubt that the boys are going to be able to get in contact with Soldier Boy like they attempted in season 3 and try to bring him over to their side and what have you. I think it's basically going to turn into like a civil war amongst these Supes. And I think lives, of course, will be lost, both Supes and humans alike. I honestly kind of think at this point, too, that Ryan's going to get caught in the crossfire. I think he could die at the hands of either his own father or even by Butcher or something. I mean, this show's not going to have a happy ending. Let's just be fucking real about that. This show is not meant to have a happy ending. No one makes it out alive. Okay. So I would be curious, of course, to see that dynamic if Homelander is going to try to persuade Soldier Boy to step into that role of, hey, come follow me and be that father I never had, be the grandfather to my son, and together we can recreate this world in our own image and that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, because Homelander is like, we're gods, we're better than the rest of these people. So where does he get that ideology from? His daddy. So it's just, to me, it's just very appropriate.
Yeah. So Tristan, do you have any other thoughts or things you want to discuss before we get out of here? Do you have a prediction maybe for the season? We've all kind of given our predictions for how we think the show will end in season 5. Do you have a prediction or anything else you want to discuss?
2 things really for me as far prediction wise. Obviously, like the inevitable Homelander, Soldier Boy / Ryan showdown. I think season 5, his last season, is going to feel like an apocalyptic. I always struggle with this word, apocalyptic event. It's like essentially Armageddon, like the fate of the world. Essentially, will be on the line. Like it couldn't be any higher stakes. I was very pleased at like the kind of subtle ways, and not really that they injected Gen V. Like they didn't overdo it. It was like, oh, okay, we get it, Gen V. But like they also put them in enough to where you understood that this is a concurrent thing happening. Yeah. That is also like the show that you just watched was important. Right. It wasn't just, something that we did because, the shit is popular. So that's that on the prediction side. I really forgot my other point. I'm just gonna roll with this one. Yeah, I forgot my other point. But yeah, that's what I think is gonna happen in season 5. I'm back here. A lot of decisions will have to be made in the course of this apocalyptic event. That was my second point. So like, maybe they do get enough of the virus to where they can take out a bunch, all the soups. How are they going to decide, or will they decide who's the right one to keep,
Right.
to live in this new world, non-soup dominant world? So you're gonna see like a lot of nuanced discussions about who each one of these soups, especially the ones that we know and love, Kamiko, Annie, like, do they stay or do they go with the other soup? So this is all going to be, season 5 is going to be about humanity. Do you have enough humanity one way or another? Do the soups have enough humanity to live in that world going forward? And do humans have enough humanity to make those decisions and not just try to wipe every soup off the face of the planet? So that's the showdown.
Yeah, that's good analysis. All the boys, all the humans that we care about are all locked up though, in theory. So it'll be interesting to see how the soups who are out there maybe come together and help out the boys if they decide to do that. There's a lot of pieces still on the board, so we'll see how it all plays out. Frank, do you have any like final thoughts before we get out of here?
I hope the last season is not rushed. I'm just gonna really hammer home that point. I thought the finale was kind of rushed. I thought some of the deaths were rushed. I hope that this story is not so George R.R. Martin big to where they don't know how to wrap it up. That's my fear. So please don't fuck it up for me, writers.
I don't think it's hard. I think it's easier to land this plane. Like there's a clear idea of what the ending should be. Well, at least what the final conflict should be. Whereas, the two idiot brothers from Game of Thrones, like they had to work with like not only like an ending, but like ending certain character arcs, bringing like so many people across like the full board of like 2 different continents together. Like it's so much. They were not equipped or smart enough or talented enough to land that plane without like concrete source material. I think now the boys they can still fuck it up.
Yeah.
We've seen that happen with better shows. The Wire, for instance. But I think this plane is a lot easier to land just because essentially like the conflicts are so narrowed down just in general. Like the boys isn't going to take you too many places. Like Game of Thrones took you like 40 different threads that you had to pull together.
Yeah.
Hence why Winds of Winter is still not finished and probably never will be finished. George can't fool me. He can't fool me. Sorry. It's gonna Joe Biden himself before that shit happens. Like he's gonna pull out of it. So yeah, no.
Brittany, any
That
final
fucking
thoughts?
hurt, dog. God damn.
Right?
I was
Too soon,
hoping we could get
Tristan.
the
Too
book.
soon.
Like, can I get the book to at least like quench this thirst of like the bad season 8 that we had? Like, god damn.
Dance of Dragons came out 13 years ago, my brother. My son is 11.
God, Tristan's like, if I gotta suffer, everyone's gotta suffer too. God damn it.
I've resigned myself to it. Like
I understand.
Can you imagine if Game of Thrones had just waited for him to finish the book? Like, there's no way they would have. Like the business end of it. Like there's
no.
That's why I don't think that David Benioff and DB Weiss did the best job, but I think they did a job, right? So they could go on and do other jobs and
or not. They got fired
Yeah.
No, I don't think they got fired. I think
from Star Wars?
They got fired from Star Wars.
They got fired from Star Wars.
I mean, a lot of people are rumored to make Star Wars. Did Kevin Feige get fired from Star Wars? I don't think he got fired. He was supposed to do a movie. He's not doing the movie now. I mean,
Kevin Feige can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah,
Well, no, but he was-
they are not.
They are not.
I mean, they're pretty big deals. They're not Kevin Feige level, but like what I'm saying is you can't throw Star Wars out there because Star Wars has plenty of their own problems. Like
Okay, we're digressing from this conversation. We,
No,
we
but
gotta wrap.
the-
We gotta wrap about the boys.
the point is with the Game of Thrones guys, you know, they were doing a good job when they had the source material, but the source material stopped. And
I disagree because the source material stopped for season 6 before season 6, and season
Yes.
6 of Game of Thrones is arguably the best season. Period.
right,
My
right. But
season.
they had to finish someone else's story, a story that he still hasn't finished. So like, you know, they were trying to do. I think they did their best. I did not.
They
like the
deserve
final-
some credit. Like that was that was a very popular, super popular. I think it got way more popular than they ever could imagine.
Yeah,
It became like a cultural, like we'll always talk about Game of Thrones. Always. Like who
Yeah,
shot JR or some shit. Like we'll
Yeah.
always talk about this shit.
gosh.
And it got so big that their audience became. You never want your audience to become smarter than you.
right,
You
right.
never want your audience, and like it's like being a fucking Kendrick Lamar fan. Like we dissect every fucking word, and
Yeah.
everything means this, and people can. Once we were able to predict those seasons, I don't know. We're digressing. I'm gonna shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Once we were able to like predict how the seasons were gonna go, like the show was cooked. Like
Yeah.
even though it was still visually stunning, the performances, yada yada,
Right.
still interesting, still
I predicted
something we
the
want
whole
to talk about.
season. I predicted everything season 7 without even knowing what was going to
I
happen.
remember.
I was like,
And
this
I
bad.
said, and that shit
This is
makes no
facts.
fucking sense. I told you, I said, and
Facts.
if it happens just like you predicted it, that shit makes no fucking sense.
Facts. Facts.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
want to wrap up talking about the boys. I do want to just say a couple of things that I really enjoyed. Just very little quick lines from Bobby Singer, who, by the way, played Bobby Singer in Supernatural.
Yep.
And he said 2 lines that I absolutely adored. And that was 1, idjits, and that's IDJITS, and balls. So yeah, that was fun for me. I love that tie-in. I thought that was great. And what a great nod for the one and only Bobby Singer.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of supernatural stuff in the show. Looks like Kessler will continue also, so that's good news for supernatural fans. And like you said, there could be other supernatural people who will
Well,
appear.
not
final
for
season?
Amber. Not for Amber. She, with a great fiery passion, hates John Winchester, who's played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So yeah, there's that. But I do like him as Kessler, and it's very appropriate for him to be Kessler and that evil.
Yeah, well, he's the captain now of Butcher, so he'll be continuing. And yeah, look forward to seeing season 5. I think it's going to be like 2026 probably before we get that, but we will get season 2 of Gen V next year, I believe. So we'll have that to tide us over until the finale of The Boys. So you know what we think about The Boys. What we talked about the whole season, week by week. We want to know what you thought about the season finale. And Brittany, how can people let us know?
Got to subscribe, y'all. We found out that about 80% of y'all who watch our live stream, which we're very appreciative of,
Yep.
y'all are not subscribed. So go ahead and take like 1 second. Go click that button, subscribe. While you're at it, go click that other button, the like us, and then click the notification button. So that way you know the next time we go live, in which case will be tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Deadpool 2 because we're gearing up for Deadpool and Wolverine. Very exciting. So yeah, go ahead and do that. Subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. That way you can join us for the live chat, just like today's attendees of the live chat. Amber of All of Amber's Wands, M Moves, King B. Johnson, Mel of Geeking Out with Melly Mel popped in to say hello. We also had a couple of other people here in the chat, Johnny, and then there was also the Vito Screamer who left us a comment. We appreciate y'all being here. Please take the time once again to subscribe. Also, don't forget to follow us on all of our social media that you can find in our About section here on YouTube. And also don't forget to follow us on our audio podcasts on Apple and Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. Yeah, it is Deadpool and Wolverine week here, and it is the biggest movie of the summer, probably the biggest movie of the year. And as we speak right now, we're recording Monday night. July 22nd. The world premiere of the movie is happening right now in New York City. So I'm just giving everyone a warning at about 9 or 10 tonight. Do not look at social media because this movie is going to be spoiled for sure. So just a little heads up there. It's also Comic-Con week later in the week. So there's a lot of rumors. The Russo brothers might be returning to direct Avengers 5 and 6. That might be announced this weekend. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Stick with us. Hopefully we'll be we're definitely gonna be talking about Deadpool 2 tomorrow, and we will be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine very soon. But yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Please subscribe, please like, share, tell a friend about the Watchers in the Basement. We appreciate it. So we're gonna get out of here. So for Brittany and for Tristan and for Frank, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Balls.